This tutorial will show you how to create your first presentation using Microsoft PowerPoint 2010. Some of the things that we're going to talk about in this presentation is how to add slides, text, and notes. We'll also be working in the slide area itself, adding new slides, typing text, moving between the slides, adding notes, and being able to give you an idea of how to go in and change your design layout so you can pick a design, change the way your slide looks, and be able to add different items to the slide so that your presentation is a reflection of who you are at any given point in time. So the very first thing that we're going to do right now is take a look at the fact that we opened up our PowerPoint presentation and we started off with a blank slide, which is what we have here in front of us. And so when you take a look at your screen, you'll notice that on the right side it has been divided into, or really in this area you're looking at what's called a slide pane, but when you're looking on the left side, this has been divided into two different sections. And so more specifically, when we are taking a look at the slide pane in this particular section, we can click in this area so that we can type text that represents what the slide is going to be about. So in this area I'm going to type in and then the second area you'll notice that it talks about a subtitle, and this is where you typically go in and add either A, a subtitle, or B, your name. Now, when you're looking at this, on the left side, you notice that you have these little thumbnails. And these thumbnails allow you to move back and forth in your presentation between the different miniature slides that are present as you work with your PowerPoint. Furthermore, if you look in this area towards the bottom, for instance, if I click here, this gives you the opportunity to add notes. And when you add the notes, it lets you use that information so that if you have to do a presentation, that data will be available for you while you're choosing to present to your audience. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and look a little bit further. So, and this side, we'll notice that we have what's referred to as the Slides tab. And what we'll notice is that we do have the ability to right-click on that particular slide, and if we wanted to, we could just say New Slide. And that lets you add a new slide into your presentation. Now, as we work with this, we'll discover that that's not the only way to add a new slide. There are other ways, but one way was to certainly do what we just did. At this point, we'll notice that this slide looks a little bit different than the previous one did, and it is ready for us to be able to click and type a particular title in this area. So I'm going to title it, and when I decide to add content underneath it, such as text, I'm going to just click and I'm going to add in one line. And that's what you do in order to add text into that area. Now, when we're looking at what I just did, this is actually referred to as the body of that particular text placeholder. And we didn't have to add text. A little bit later on, what you're going to notice is that we do have the ability to add in other types of graphics if we desired, or videos, or even images. But right now the focus is on the body of this particular placeholder, and we notice that when I typed, I hit the end of the line. If I want another bullet to be added, I need to press the Enter key, and at this point I could type in something else. And that allows us to reach the end of that line, and we could press Enter again in order to add in another bullet, but I don't desire to do that, so I'm going to press the backspace key. Furthermore, if you decided that you wanted to make this into another type of numbered bullet or a number bulleted list, you could highlight this, and now you can just select on that particular numbered bullet, and it'll turn those to numbers so that you don't have to just deal with the bullets. And of course you can toggle back and forth between each of those if you desired. We're going to go ahead and move ahead. And in this area, we're going to notice that we now have two different slides. And if we look on the slides area, when we look at these thumbnails, we can toggle back and forth between the two so that we can navigate amongst the slide presentation that we've already created. Furthermore, if we take a look over here on the right side, we can click this bottom area for this button that says Next Slide, or we could select this particular one in order to click Previous Slide. And that will give you the opportunity to also navigate amongst the different slides that are present in your presentation. Now, we're reaching towards the end, and we decide that we're going to do a presentation. We're going to be doing some type of talking, but we normally need a little bit of help. And so if you feel that you need some help, Microsoft has gone in and added in what they called a notes area. So if you look in this section, you can click to access what's referred to as the notes pane. And if you want to make this a little bit higher, you can left click, just make sure you put your mouse, move it down, and when your mouse looks like this, left click, don't let go, and just pull up, and that'll extend that area, make it a little bit bigger for you to add in more notes. And in this particular case, if you decide that you want to add something in there, all you do is just click to type. And you can see that that information will be available for you when you decide that you want to present to your audience. Now, that's it for that particular section in terms of being able to add information in order to get started adding information onto the presentation itself. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to move ahead and I'm going to talk about the design and the layout of the presentation that you're working on. So right now you'll notice that we just have this plain old black and white presentation, and it's one that we're not particularly excited about. Well, we can go in and add in a particular template that will add some color, will make the slide a little more interesting visually, and then we can also change the layout of the presentation itself. So when we're doing that, what we're going to do is take a look at going in to apply what we call a design theme. And so what we're going to do is select the Design tab by clicking here, and when we look over to the right side, we'll notice that we can navigate amongst the different templates here. For instance, if we stop and hover, we're not going to click, we can then see a preview of what it would look like to have that particular template applied to our slide. Furthermore, if you want to see the row that's beneath this initial row, you can click on the down arrow, and it moves down one row so that you can see the other options that are available. And of course, if you just click, you can use that to select the design template that you want to apply to your presentation. What's really nice about this is that your text that you have present doesn't move. So for instance, if I click on slide number 2, I can see that as I select these different templates, my information doesn't change, other than for PowerPoint to make it fit the design template that has been selected. So that's very important. So with that taking place, PowerPoint's very easy to use, and you do have the ability to do that. You can also come over here and click on the Outline tab. And so the Outline tab gives you that view of the text that is available or viewable in your screen. You won't see any of the images that are over here on the right side, and you can still come over to the right, you can click and you can type in information on the right side, and also it will stay on the left. When I make that modification to the left side, you will notice that it also will apply to the right. So you can choose either one of these sides to do your work in, but you can work in outline mode and it'll give you access still to that slide pane, or you can just go back and click on slides, see the thumbnail views, and then still make your modifications over to the right side of the slide pane itself. Now, when you're taking a look at this, you do have the option to go in and look at the templates and make the decision that says, hey, I see that I have this title slide, but what if I want to change it so that I'm no longer looking at a title and content type of slide? Well, in PowerPoint you can click on the home area. Here you can select the layout button, and when you look at that particular command, you'll see that the default template that you have applied as a layout is title and content. You can certainly make that a title with two content by just clicking. And again, you'll notice that any text that was on the slide or the presentation remains. It's just adjusted to fit the layout that you have selected. What we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and move ahead, and we're going to see how it is that we're able to work within this particular layout. The first thing is we look here and we can see that we're looking at the placeholder, which is that little border, that dotted line border that's going around this area. And I'm content with what I see here as the title. Over on the right side, I can look at that particular right placeholder, and I'm using it as a text placeholder because that's the only thing that I'm going to put in here. Now, on the left side, I have the ability to add other content, such as more text, or I can add in a table, a chart, a smart graphic. I can add pictures that I may have available on my computer. I can also select clip art that's available in Microsoft, or I can add in media clips such as videos or sound that may be available in Microsoft. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to add in a visual, and in this instance I'm going to add in a visual that is going to come from my hard drive. So for my content, I'm going to click Insert Picture from File, and I'm going to double click on one of the pictures that I have available, and I'm going to choose Beach. So I select it one time and I click on Insert. And what I'll notice is right here I see the picture. Now this picture is active, and I know that because I see the circles on the border edge of the image itself. If it's not going to make it pixelated, meaning that if it's not going to make it blurred, then I want to make it a little bit larger. Or I can put my mouse in the middle, and when my mouse looks like this, I can left click, don't let go, and move the image to where I desire. And so that's how you can have this different type of layout template that gives you an image on one side, content on the next. Or you can go in and, of course, choose another type of layout by clicking on the drop down and selecting one of the comparison type of layouts. And this is interesting because on the right side, it can represent one type of content. And for example, I could come in here and say process, and on the right I might talk about relaxation. Now of course that doesn't make sense based on what I'm typing, but yet I'm just trying to show you that you can have an image and you can also have text, but it depends on the layout that you have for the slide that you're working with. So at this particular point I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move forward. And what I want to take a look at right now is just how to go in and add in additional information onto your slide. And so if you wanted to, you could go in and add in other types of designs to your presentation so that you can basically change the look of what it is that people are able to see. So if you wanted to copy a slide and you wanted to put it in a different area, let's say you want to duplicate the slide that we're looking at, you could just put your mouse over on this particular thumbnail. You could right click and you could say duplicate slide, and now you do have an extra one so that you could go in and make a modification, keep in some of the basic information, and just get rid of that which you don't want to keep. So in this case I might decide to get rid of that placeholder. I click the border and select delete, and then I can also click this picture and get rid of it. And that just gives you the ability to have a little more control. But basically there will be moments that you do want a duplicate slide for whatever reason. I know for me, if I kind of want to keep the same layout and then duplicate some of the content, or maybe even break it up into two bullets, for example, maybe I want to get rid of this information on that slide but keep the top, and I don't want to retype and I decide to get rid of this information, I can keep the bottom. Then that's a good reason sometimes to break your slide up into two, but just duplicate what it is that you do have available. Okay? And so with that, that is how you could go in and create your first presentation.